What if I told you that you could change your life in just 7 days? I'm not talking about small, insignificant changes here. No quick fixes or empty promises. Imagine completely transforming your mindset, your habits, your entire approach to life, all in a single week. Picture waking up on day 8 as a completely different version of yourself. More disciplined, more resilient, more in control. Sound impossible? Well, what if I told you that the ancient philosophy of Stoicism can offer a clear, practical blueprint for this kind of transformation? You see, Stoicism isn't just some dusty philosophy from ancient Greece, a bunch of long-forgotten ideas that don't apply to us in today's fast-paced world. Far from it. Stoicism is as relevant now as it ever was, and maybe even more so. We live in a time where distractions are endless, where we are constantly bombarded with noise, whether it's social media, the 24-hour news cycle, or the pressure to live up to impossible standards. It's easy to feel lost in the chaos, to feel like life is happening to us, not for us. But Stoicism teaches us that we don't have to be victims of circumstance. We can be the masters of our own fate. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Sure, it sounds great in theory, but change in a week? That's a big ask. And I get it. 7 days might seem like an unrealistic timeline to completely overhaul your life. But hear me out. What if the transformation doesn't need to be gradual? What if, in just 1 week, you could plant the seeds of a completely new you, laying the foundation for lasting change? What if the hardest part of transformation is simply deciding to start and then committing to a process? That's exactly what Stoicism offers. A way to take control of the one thing you can always control: yourself. Think about the people in your life who've made real, lasting changes. It wasn't because they waited for the perfect moment or for everything to fall into place. It wasn't because they had some magic formula. They took action. They made a choice. And once they committed to that choice, they executed, day in and day out, until they became a different version of themselves. That's what Stoicism teaches us to do. It's not about waiting for life to change for us. It's about stepping up and taking the reins of our own transformation. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture a version of yourself that is unrecognizable, a version that radiates confidence, discipline, and purpose. Now ask yourself, what's holding you back from becoming that person? What habits, beliefs, or mindsets are keeping you from stepping into that new identity? The answer, most often, is you. It's the self-doubt, the procrastination, the fear of failure, the comfort of the familiar. These are the invisible chains that keep us stuck in old patterns. And while it's not easy to break free from them, Stoicism shows us how we can start dismantling them. That's the power of Stoicism. It's not about changing everything at once or waiting for the stars to align. It's about starting today, right now. It's about making small, deliberate choices that, when compounded, add up to monumental change. This philosophy is about action, not passive hope. And once you start, it's like a snowball effect. The more action you take, the more momentum you build, and before you know it, you've become someone you didn't even recognize a week ago. So let's think about this for a second. What if you could start fresh today? What if you could identify all the things in your life that have been holding you back and then make the decision to let them go? I'm not just talking about vague ideas here. I'm talking about real, actionable steps. Letting go of procrastination, toxic relationships, self-doubt, things that are weighing you down. And I'm not talking about doing it halfway, or with one foot still in the old version of yourself. I'm talking about total commitment, a decision that once made, you won't backtrack on. Now I know this might sound like a lot, but the beauty of Stoicism is that it provides a clear path forward. It isn't about blindly pushing through life with no direction. Stoicism gives us a practical roadmap, a framework for growth. It gives us the tools to deal with pain, fear, failure. Because let's face it, these are inevitable. Life is going to throw challenges our way. The question isn't, will you face hardships? The question is, how will you face them? Will you be consumed by them, or will you rise above them, using every challenge as a stepping stone toward becoming the person you've always wanted to be? That's the essence of Stoicism. It's not just about accepting what happens to you. It's about shaping how you respond. It's about taking control of your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions, no matter the circumstances. And that's where the power lies. Because once you realize that your external world doesn't define you, you're free. Free to create a life that aligns with your values, your purpose, and your true potential. Here's the thing. Change isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, even painful at times. But that's exactly why Stoicism is so powerful. It teaches us that discomfort isn't something to avoid. It's something to embrace. Stoics didn't shy away from hardship. They sought it out because they understood that it was through struggle that true strength is forged. They believed that by voluntarily facing discomfort, we develop resilience. And with resilience comes the ability to handle whatever life throws at us. The Stoic mindset is about seeing obstacles not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to grow, learn, and become stronger. So why does this topic matter? Because it's the key to unlocking the best version of yourself. In a world where we're constantly distracted, constantly searching for shortcuts, Stoicism gives us a blueprint for lasting, meaningful change. It teaches us how to take control of our lives, today, not tomorrow, not next month, but right now. And that's where the 7 days come in. This isn't a journey that requires years of waiting for the right moment. It's a week of commitment, of action, and of transformation. A week of laying the foundation for the life you are meant to live. So ask yourself this: what if the life you've always wanted is only one decision away? What if you could start today, armed with the wisdom of Stoicism, and completely change the trajectory of your life? Because here's the truth: you can. You have everything you need inside of you to make that shift. It's just a matter of committing to the process, embracing the discomfort, and making the decision to become the person you were always meant to be. Are you ready? All right, let's dive right in. Day 1. Destroying the old self. I know it sounds intense, and honestly it is. But that's exactly what we need to begin this journey. We've all been living with certain habits, beliefs, and patterns for so long that they feel like they're a part of us, like they're who we are. But the truth is, those things aren't who we are. They're just the stories we've been telling ourselves. And today, we start the process of dismantling those stories and building something entirely new. If you really think about it, every major change we make starts with one crucial step: letting go. If you've ever tried to clean out a closet that's been stuffed with old clothes you never wear, you know how tough it can be. You stand there, holding on to that sweater you've had for years, and for some reason, it feels hard to let go. Maybe it holds a memory. Maybe it fits just right, even though you haven't worn it in ages. But when you finally toss it, something shifts. The closet feels lighter, more organized. You've made space for something new, something better. The same thing is true when it comes to the way we live our lives. The reason we stay stuck in old patterns, whether it's procrastination, negative thinking, unhealthy habits, or just plain complacency, is that we've convinced ourselves that this is who we are. And to change, to break free from that old self, feels like we're giving up a part of us. But here's the thing: that old self, it's a version of you that was shaped by the past. And that version no longer serves you. It's like holding on to that old sweater that no longer fits. It doesn't do anything for you anymore, and it's only taking up space. The time has come to let it go. But let's not sugarcoat this. It's not easy. Change never is. We've been conditioned by years of habits, by the world around us telling us who we should be, to believe that we are defined by our past actions. But if you really think about it, Who you were yesterday doesn't have to define who you are today. And that's the power of this journey. Stoicism teaches us a profound lesson here. It reminds us that everything in life is temporary, even the version of ourselves we've grown so attached to. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often reflected on the fact that every moment is a new beginning. We are constantly changing, constantly evolving. But in order to grow, we need to actively choose to evolve. We need to destroy the parts of us that no longer serve our higher purpose. And that's where day one begins. With destruction, but not destruction in the way most people think. This isn't about tearing yourself down. It's about clearing out the clutter, mentally, emotionally, physically, and making space for the new you to emerge. Let's pause for a moment here. Think about where you are right now. Think about the person you've been, the habits you've built, the beliefs that have shaped your life. Are they truly serving you, or are they just holding you back? Maybe you've been stuck in a cycle of procrastination, telling yourself you'll change tomorrow. Maybe you've been carrying around baggage, guilt, regret, fear, that's been keeping you paralyzed. Maybe you've let the expectations of others define your path, and you've forgotten what you really want out of life. The first step in destroying the old self is simply acknowledging these things. You can't fix what you don't see. So take a moment right now, in this space, and reflect. What's weighing you down? What beliefs do you hold that no longer serve your growth? Is it a fear of failure? A sense of unworthiness? A pattern of self-sabotage that's kept you from taking that leap towards something better? Now here's the tough part. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. It's not about sugarcoating it or making excuses. You have to look at those things head on and say, I'm ready to leave this behind. I know it's hard. It's uncomfortable. It feels like you're giving up something familiar, something that, for better or worse, has become a part of who you are. But that's the price of transformation. And when you make that commitment, when you decide that you're done living in the past, you free yourself to become something better. Let's take a look at how this plays out in real life. Think about someone like Tim Ferriss, for example. If you've ever read his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, you'll know that his journey to success wasn't a smooth path. He was a college dropout, struggling with self-doubt, feeling like he had no real direction. But instead of staying stuck in the past, he chose to break free. He destroyed the idea that he had to follow a conventional path. He rejected the expectations others had for him and began creating a life that was true to his own vision. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but he was willing to let go of the old version of himself that wasn't working and embrace something new. And look where he is now. It's not just Ferriss, though. This is something that happens in countless success stories, in the lives of people who decided they weren't going to let their old selves dictate their future. Maybe they had failed in the past. Maybe they had faced rejection, criticism, or their own doubts. But they chose to let go. They chose to rise above it. They made a decision that starting today, they would no longer live in the shadow of their past mistakes. And that decision changed everything. That's what you have the power to do today. So let's talk about how you can start doing this. The first step in destroying the old self is to take a full inventory of your life. Think of it like cleaning out that closet again. Go through each part of your life, your relationships, your habits, your mindset, and really evaluate them. What's working? What's not? What's holding you back? What's taking up valuable space in your life? Here's where Stoicism becomes incredibly practical. The Stoics didn't shy away from discomfort or hard truths. They believed that by facing our weaknesses and limitations, we could transform them into strengths. And that's exactly what you're doing here. By confronting the aspects of your life that no longer serve you, you're giving yourself the opportunity to rebuild. It's not just about recognizing what's holding you back, though. It's about making a commitment, an irreversible commitment, to leave it behind. That's where the real power comes in. It's one thing to say, I know I have this bad habit, or I know I'm holding on to this belief. It's another thing to say, I am done with this. I am no longer going to let this dictate my actions or my future. And once you've made that commitment, you've already begun the process of transformation. You've made space for the new you to take root. But it doesn't stop there. You have to take action. In Stoic philosophy, action is everything. It's not enough to simply think about change. You have to embody it. So what does that look like? It means starting with one thing, one decision, that proves to yourself that you're serious about this transformation. Maybe it's setting a boundary with someone who drains your energy. Maybe it's committing to a new habit, like waking up early or exercising regularly. Maybe it's letting go of a fear that's been holding you back for years. Whatever it is, it's about taking that first step. This is where the real magic happens. The moment when you stop talking about change and actually start making it happen. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also exhilarating. And once you've taken that first step, you'll begin to see that the rest of the journey isn't as hard as it seems. Because the hardest part, the part that most people never get past, is simply deciding to leave the old self behind. But once you make that decision, the rest follows. So as you move through today, day one, remember this. Destruction isn't about tearing yourself apart. It's about clearing the path for something greater. It's about shedding the old skin so that the new you can emerge. And with each action you take, each commitment you make, you'll find that you're no longer held back by the past. You're free to create the future you've always wanted. Now here's your challenge for the day. Take a moment and write down one thing that has been holding you back, whether it's a limiting belief, a bad habit, or a past failure. Get it out on paper, and then commit to letting it go. Tear that paper up, burn it, or bury it, whatever feels right. Just make sure you do it. You've already begun the process of transformation. Now it's time to continue. What are you waiting for? The new you is waiting to emerge. Today is the first step. Let's make it count. All right, here we are, day 2. And if you thought the first day was tough, today might hit you in a different way. Because today we're talking about something that often gets overlooked in the transformation process, the body. That's right, the body is not just a vessel that carries your mind around. It's a direct reflection of your discipline, your decisions, your state of being. And it's time to give it the attention it deserves. Physical reinvention is not just about getting fit or losing weight. It's about cultivating strength, resilience, and fortitude that echoes through every part of your life. Think about it. How often have you felt mentally sluggish, unmotivated, or just drained of energy? And what's the first thing you do? You check your phone, scroll through social media, grab a snack, and hope that the next hit of distraction will give you the energy you need. But here's the problem with that. The more you feed yourself instant gratification, the more disconnected you become from your true power. And that's where physical reinvention comes in. Because as the Stoics understood deeply, the body is not separate from the mind. It's a reflection of the mind. And if you want to elevate your mind, you have to elevate your body first. This might sound harsh, but I want to challenge you to think about something. When was the last time you really pushed yourself physically? And I don't mean just going for a walk or stretching a bit. I mean really pushing yourself. I'm talking about breaking a sweat, feeling your muscles burn, getting out of breath, and not stopping until you've reached your limit. When's the last time you chose discomfort over comfort, even for a brief moment? Because here's the thing, discomfort is where growth happens. Take a moment and think about the strongest people you know, physically, mentally, emotionally. Whether it's a professional athlete, a military veteran, or just someone in your life who exudes resilience and strength. What do they all have in common? They've all chosen to put themselves through discomfort to build strength. And here's the catch. It's not just about physical strength. The body, when pushed to its limits, has the power to strengthen the mind. When you subject your body to physical challenge, it trains your brain to handle discomfort, to endure, and to push through. It teaches you that pain doesn't have to stop you. Pain is temporary. Strength, however, is permanent. Think about someone like David Goggins, the ultra-endurance athlete and Navy SEAL who at one point weighed over 300 pounds and struggled with self-doubt. He transformed his life by doing the one thing most people avoid: embracing pain. When he was running his ultra marathons or doing his grueling workout routines, he wasn't just training his body, he was training his mind. And what he learned through this painful process is exactly what the Stoics knew all along: that voluntary discomfort, the willingness to face hardship head-on, is the foundation of true mental resilience. When you push yourself physically, you break down old limits and build new ones. You create a new version of yourself that knows no bounds. And this isn't just about lifting heavier weights or running faster. It's about building discipline. It's about showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's inconvenient, even when your body is begging you to stop. And that discipline you cultivate in the gym, on the track, or wherever you choose to push yourself, seeps into every part of your life. It changes how you show up in your career, your relationships, your personal growth. When you make your body stronger, you make your mind stronger. Now I want to dig deeper into why this matters, especially when it comes to Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that physical hardship wasn't just for the sake of physical strength. It was about training the mind. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, actually wrote about how he used discomfort to build mental fortitude. He didn't have to endure hardship. It was a conscious choice. He fasted, he exposed himself to cold temperatures, he even slept on the floor, all to strengthen his mind against the inevitable hardships of life. Why? Because he knew that comfort makes us weak. And when we avoid discomfort, we avoid growth. This idea isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's practical, it's modern, and it's something you can start doing right now. But here's the kicker. You don't have to be a soldier or an athlete to start building this kind of resilience. It can be as simple as changing your habits. Maybe it's waking up earlier than you're comfortable with. Maybe it's committing to a workout routine that challenges you. Maybe it's something as simple as taking a cold shower for a few minutes each morning. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's tough. But that's the point. It's training your mind to embrace discomfort, to push through resistance, and to come out stronger on the other side. Think about how many times we choose comfort in our day-to-day lives. How many times have you reached for that extra snack when you weren't even hungry? How many times have you chosen to watch a TV show instead of going for a walk or doing something that would push you towards your goals? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the occasional break, but there's a bigger question here. How often are you choosing comfort over growth? How often are you choosing short-term pleasure over long-term strength? I want you to really think about this. If you've been living in comfort, if you've been avoiding physical challenges, it's no wonder that your mind might be feeling sluggish or overwhelmed. Our bodies and minds are connected, and when we neglect one, we neglect the other. But when you make a choice to take care of your body through exercise, through discipline, through pushing yourself, you elevate every aspect of your life. Let's talk about what this actually looks like in practice. Today, I want you to commit to one physical challenge. It doesn't have to be some extreme feat. This is about starting where you are and making the choice to step outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's a 30-minute workout, a long walk in the fresh air, or doing something physically demanding that pushes you just a little bit further than you've gone before. It's about taking that first step. And here's the thing. It's not about perfection. It's about effort. It's about showing up and doing the hard thing even when you don't feel like it. Over time, this becomes a habit, a mindset shift. And when you start taking care of your body, when you start pushing yourself physically, your mind will follow suit. You'll start showing up differently in every part of your life. You'll be more resilient, more focused, and more capable of handling whatever comes your way. This is where the magic happens, the intersection between mind and body. When you start seeing the connection between what you do physically and how you show up mentally, you realize that your body isn't just a vessel. It's a tool for personal growth, for mental strength, and for living a life of purpose. The Stoics understood this, and that's why they put such an emphasis on enduring physical discomfort. They didn't do it for the sake of suffering. They did it because they knew that by strengthening the body, you strengthen the mind. And that's exactly what I want you to take away from today. The idea that physical reinvention is the key to unlocking your mental and emotional power. If you want to change your life, you have to start by taking control of your body. You have to push it, challenge it, and make it strong. And as you do, you'll find that your mind follows suit. You'll start to see the world differently. You'll start to handle stress differently. You'll start to make better decisions. And before you know it, the new version of you, the one who's mentally strong, resilient, and unstoppable, will be here. So let's make today count. Let's commit to pushing ourselves. Let's embrace discomfort, not as something to avoid, but as something to be welcomed. You've already started this journey, and now it's time to make your body as strong as your mind. One step at a time, one challenge at a time, and soon you'll see just how powerful you can become. Your transformation starts today. All right, here we are, day 3. By now, you've already taken some bold steps. You've confronted the parts of yourself that were holding you back. You've begun reshaping your physical strength. And now it's time for the most important shift of all, your mind. You see, the truth is, nothing changes in your life until you change your mindset. We can try to change our habits, change our surroundings, or even change our bodies. But if our minds are still stuck in the same old patterns, then all that change is just surface level. The real work, the deep transformative work, starts in the mind. The Stoics understood this more than anyone. They believed that our thoughts shape our reality. They taught that the mind, once trained, could remain unshaken by the chaos of the outside world. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful figures in history, said that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. That's it. If you want to change your life, you have to first change how you think. It's as simple and as difficult as that. And yet, in today's world, we're constantly bombarded with distractions. We have 1,000 things vying for our attention: social media, the news, the pressures of work, family, and relationships. Our minds are like a radio that's always tuned into 100 different stations, none of which we actually want to listen to. We're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and most importantly, undisciplined. And when our minds are scattered, we're incapable of focusing on the things that really matter. We're stuck in a constant state of reactivity instead of living intentionally. But here's where it gets interesting. You have the power to take control of that. You have the ability to filter out all the noise and focus on what's truly important. And it all starts with a mental upgrade. Upgrading the way you think, the way you view the world, and the way you see yourself. Today is the day you start making that shift. Today, we're going to dive deep into the kind of mindset that will set you up for lasting transformation. The first thing we have to recognize is that the mind is not something that just happens to us. It's not something we passively experience. Our thoughts are a product of our choices. The Stoics believed that we are not defined by the things that happen to us, but by how we choose to react to them. Life will throw obstacles in your way. There's no doubt about that. People will let you down. You'll face failures. You'll experience setbacks. But none of these things are truly in your control. What is in your control is your reaction to them. That's the heart of Stoic philosophy. Let's break this down with a real-world example. Have you ever had one of those days when everything seems to go wrong? You spill coffee on your shirt, miss your bus, and then your boss calls to give you extra work for the weekend. If you're like most people, your first instinct is to get frustrated, to start complaining, to feel like the world is out to get you. But here's the thing. That's a choice. It's a choice to react with anger, with frustration, with stress. And every time you choose that reaction, you're reinforcing the same patterns in your mind. You're teaching yourself that the world controls your emotional state. But what if you made a different choice? What if, instead of letting the small inconveniences of the day dictate your mood, you saw them for what they really are? Just temporary setbacks, just challenges to overcome? Think about this for a second. When something goes wrong, you have a split second to decide. Will you react impulsively, letting your emotions take the wheel, or will you choose a different response? This is the moment that separates those who live by reaction from those who live by choice. A Stoic would take a deep breath, acknowledge the discomfort, and then choose how to move forward, calmly and deliberately. They'd remind themselves that the external world is beyond their control, but their inner world is entirely theirs to shape. And that shift in perspective, my friend, is everything. It's the difference between being at the mercy of life and taking control of your life. Now let's take this a step further. One of the most powerful concepts in Stoic philosophy is amor fati, the love of fate. This idea is mind-blowing when you really sit with it. The Stoics believe that we should not only accept the things that happen to us, but actually embrace them, love them, not because they're pleasant, but because they're an opportunity to grow. Every hardship, every obstacle, every challenge is a gift in disguise. It's a chance to practice patience, resilience, and wisdom. When you learn to love your fate, you stop resisting life's ups and downs. You stop fighting against the things that are outside your control, and instead, you see them as opportunities to rise above. Let me give you an example of this in action. Imagine you're in a difficult relationship, one that drains you emotionally. You feel frustrated because you keep running into the same issues. But no matter how hard you try, things don't seem to improve. Now, most people, when faced with this, would either continue complaining or give up entirely, letting their frustration build. But a Stoic would take a different approach. They'd ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger from this experience? What does this situation teach me about patience, about setting boundaries, about compassion? The Stoic wouldn't fight against the situation. They'd find a way to embrace it, to make the most of it, and to use it as a stepping stone toward personal growth. That's the power of amor fati, learning to love the things that challenge us, because we know they're the things that shape us. But here's the catch. Amor fati doesn't mean you just passively accept everything that comes your way. It's not about sitting back and letting life happen to you. No, it's about actively choosing to see every setback as an opportunity. It's about shifting your perspective so that when life throws a curveball, you don't get knocked down. Instead, you lean into it, learn from it, and come out stronger on the other side. Another key Stoic concept that will radically upgrade your mind is memento mori, remembering that you're going to die. Now, I know that sounds a little morbid, but stick with me here. The Stoics believe that constantly reminding ourselves of our mortality is one of the most powerful ways to live a meaningful life. Why? Because when you realize that time is finite, you stop wasting it. You stop procrastinating. You stop getting caught up in trivial things that don't matter. You start living with intention. You start focusing on what truly matters. And here's the kicker. When you fully embrace your mortality, you stop fearing it. You stop letting the fear of failure or rejection hold you back. You start taking risks. You start living fully, and you start making every moment count. So let me ask you this. What are you doing with your time right now? Are you living with intention? Are you focused on the things that will leave a legacy? Or are you caught up in the noise? Every day we are all given a limited number of moments. The clock is ticking, whether we acknowledge it or not. But when you live with memento mori in mind, you realize that every second is precious. You start to see life differently. You start to act with purpose. You start to make choices that align with your values, your vision, and your higher self. But here's where it gets interesting. Changing your mindset is not just about thinking differently, it's about acting differently. You see, the Stoics understood that your thoughts and your actions are deeply connected. If you want to change your life, you have to change the way you act in the world. If you want to become the person you are meant to be, you have to start living like that person today. It's not enough to think positive thoughts or hope for a better future. You have to take decisive action every single day. It's the little things, how you speak to others, how you handle stress, how you show up in your work, that ultimately shape who you are. So today, I challenge you to upgrade your mind. Start by becoming aware of your thoughts. Are they empowering you or holding you back? Are they aligned with the person you want to be? Begin to shift your perspective. Embrace amor fati, love your fate, and see every challenge as an opportunity to grow. Embrace memento mori. Remind yourself that time is limited and every moment counts. And finally, take action. Live today like the person you're becoming, not the person you were. This is your mental upgrade. This is where you take control of your thoughts and start living intentionally. And when you do, everything else in your life will begin to shift. The person you want to become is already within you. Now it's time to let that person emerge. You've got this. Welcome to day 4. By now, you've taken some serious steps to transform your life. You've destroyed old limiting beliefs. You've strengthened your body, and you've upgraded your mindset. But today, we're going to address something crucial, something that can make or break your success in almost every area of your life, your social presence and command. Now, I want to ask you something. When you walk into a room, what do people notice about you? Is it your confidence, your energy, the way you carry yourself? Or do you fade into the background, hoping nobody notices that you're even there? Social presence is something that, whether we're conscious of it or not, affects every interaction we have. It's how we communicate without saying a word. And today, we're going to dive into how you can take control of this aspect of your life. Because having command over your social presence is absolutely essential for becoming the person you want to be. Think about the people in your life who have a commanding presence. Maybe it's a leader at work, a family member who always seems to have the room's attention, or even someone you've seen in the media, like a politician or a celebrity. What do they have in common? It's not necessarily how they look or what they say, it's how they make you feel. When they walk into a room, there's a shift in the atmosphere. People pay attention. They're not necessarily louder, but there's a quiet confidence, a sense of authority that surrounds them. It's magnetic. Now, I'm not talking about being loud or trying to dominate a conversation. I'm talking about owning the space you occupy without saying a word. Think of it like a magnet. You don't have to scream to get someone's attention. You simply have to be yourself, fully, completely, and unapologetically. That's the secret to social presence. It's not about being the loudest or the most outgoing. It's about being the most authentic and confident version of yourself in any given situation. And that's where the Stoics had a lot to say about presence. The Stoics didn't value appearances or superficial showmanship. They didn't think it was about impressing others with flashy displays of strength or power. No, they believed in something much deeper. They believed in inner mastery. The Stoic practice of self-discipline, being in control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, naturally radiates outward. When you master yourself, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your presence speaks for itself. Let's take Marcus Aurelius, for example. The guy was the Roman emperor leading an empire of millions. But despite his immense power and influence, his leadership was never about exerting force or domination. It was about quiet strength. He led by example. He had self-control. He was someone who remained calm in the face of adversity, who thought before he spoke, who listened before he acted. His presence wasn't about forcing others to follow him. It was about commanding respect through his actions, his character, and his calm composure. And that's what made him so powerful. What if you could embody that kind of presence in your life? What if, instead of needing to shout over the noise, you could simply walk into a room and have people take notice because of your quiet, unshakable confidence? You see, this is something that can be developed with practice. It's not about faking it till you make it. It's about truly becoming the kind of person who embodies strength, calm, and authority. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself every day. Now think about the way you carry yourself in social settings. Do you slouch, avoiding eye contact? Or do you stand tall, shoulders back, eyes meeting the gaze of others? I know it might feel awkward at first, but the way you present yourself physically plays a huge role in how people perceive you. When you stand tall, when you make eye contact, when you walk with purpose, people naturally see you as someone who is confident, someone who knows their worth. And here's the cool thing. When you start presenting yourself with confidence, you start feeling more confident. It's like a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you show up with presence, the more your mind aligns with that presence, and the more others respond to you accordingly. It's easy to underestimate the power of body language, but it's so incredibly important. Your posture, your facial expressions, your gestures, these things communicate more than words ever could. When you stand up straight, you're not just physically tall, you're mentally taller too. You're telling the world, I have nothing to hide. I'm comfortable with who I am. And when you carry yourself with that kind of self-assurance, people pick up on it. People will start gravitating toward you naturally. They'll trust you more. They'll respect you more. They'll want to be around you more. And that's not because you're putting on some kind of act. It's because you're genuinely showing up as your best self. But it's not just about how you stand or how you walk. It's also about how you speak. And I'm not just talking about what you say, but how you say it. How often do you find yourself speaking too quickly, filling your sentences with and like, or rushing through your words because you're worried people might not be listening? We've all been there. But here's the thing. When you're rushed in your speech, you're communicating nervousness. You're communicating that you're unsure of yourself. And when you're unsure of yourself, others will be too. Take a moment and think about someone you know who speaks slowly and deliberately. Maybe they take their time, pausing to gather their thoughts before responding. Maybe they have a calm, measured tone. But when they speak, people listen. There's an authority in the way they communicate. And it's not because they're trying to be forceful. It's because they've mastered their own communication. They're not desperate for attention. They don't need to fill the silence with unnecessary words. And that's what gives them the power to command respect in any conversation. This is something you can cultivate too. Slow down. Take a breath before responding. Let your words land with purpose. Speak with authority. And the more you do this, the more your presence will become undeniable. Now I want you to think about your relationships for a moment. Whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or even acquaintances, how often do you let others dominate the conversation? How often do you shrink back when someone challenges you, even when you know you're right? This is where true social command comes into play. It's about standing firm in your beliefs and having the courage to express them, without arrogance or defensiveness. You don't have to be aggressive or combative. But you do have to be clear about who you are, what you stand for, and what you won't tolerate. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and someone is speaking over you, dismissing your ideas. What do? Do you let it slide, or do you stand your ground? A person with a commanding presence doesn't back down in these situations. They speak up. They express their thoughts clearly, without hesitation, and they do so with respect. They don't let others control the conversation, but they also don't engage in unnecessary conflict. They simply assert their position with calm confidence. It's not about being the loudest or the most dominant person in the room. It's about showing up as your true self, with authenticity and integrity. It's about knowing your worth and not being afraid to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's uncomfortable. Because when you do that, people will take notice. People will respect you. People will be drawn to you. And this, my friend, is the key to social presence. It's about mastering the internal game first, building your confidence, understanding your worth, and controlling your emotions. And once you've done that, the external world will respond in kind. People will be magnetized by your energy. They'll want to follow you, support you, and be around you. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're being your true, unapologetic self. You're showing up with presence and command. So today, I want to challenge you to walk into every situation with this newfound awareness. Stand tall, speak slowly, own your space, and most importantly, be unapologetically you. Don't shrink back. Don't apologize for taking up space. The more you practice this, the more your presence will grow. You'll find that little by little, you'll begin to command respect naturally, effortlessly. Because here's the truth. When you embrace your presence, when you truly understand the power of your own authenticity, you become unstoppable, and the world will begin to reflect that back to you. Today, you start embodying that presence. And let me tell you, once you do, you'll never look back. All right, welcome to day 5. We've already done a lot. We've torn down old beliefs. We've rebuilt our physical strength, and we've upgraded our minds. But now, it's time for the most crucial step of all, relentless execution. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where all the talk, all the planning, and all the theory come together and turn into real, actionable results. I'm going to be honest with you. Execution is the hardest part. We can talk about goals, we can dream about success, and we can even map out a plan. But it's the execution that makes all the difference. The reason most people fail to achieve their dreams isn't because they don't have the knowledge or the potential. It's because they fail to act. They get caught up in the cycle of thinking, planning, and overanalyzing. They wait for the perfect moment, the stars to align, or for some magical wave of motivation to sweep them off their feet. And guess what? That moment never comes. The truth is, there is no perfect moment. There's only now, right now. The only time that matters is the time you have today, and what you do with it determines who you become tomorrow. So let's break this down. What does it mean to be relentlessly executed in your life, and how do you start? Let's think back to a moment when you wanted something so badly that you were willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. Maybe it was a big career goal, a personal project, or even a fitness goal. You had that fire, that drive, and you started. But then, what happened? Maybe you hit some bumps along the way. Maybe you got distracted. Maybe life threw some curveballs your way and you got off track. It's natural. It happens to the best of us. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't is one simple thing: the willingness to get back up and keep going, no matter what. Execution isn't about being perfect. It's not about having everything figured out from the start. It's about showing up every day, taking action, even when you're uncertain, and doing the work that others aren't willing to do. It's about building momentum, step by step, until you've created something that is undeniable. And that, my friend, is the power of relentless execution. Think about any successful person you know, someone who has accomplished something significant. Whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, or an artist, they all share one common trait. They don't stop. They keep going. They take action, even when the odds are stacked against them. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They don't wait for the perfect circumstances. They execute, day in and day out. Let's take Elon Musk as an example. Say what you will about his companies or his ideas, but you can't deny that the man executes relentlessly. He doesn't wait for everything to be perfect before he acts. In fact, he has said that one of the keys to his success is being willing to make mistakes and learn from them. He doesn't wait for perfection. He takes action, often with very little information or certainty, and figures it out along the way. This is a lesson we all need to learn. Perfection is the enemy of progress. The longer you wait for everything to align perfectly, the longer you delay your success. If you've been waiting for the perfect time to start something, whether it's a business, a workout routine, or a new skill, let me tell you, that perfect time will never come. The only perfect time is the present moment. You have everything you need to begin right now. The question is, are you willing to start? Are you willing to take that first step, even when the path ahead is unclear? When you commit to relentless execution, you begin to see the world differently. You stop waiting for life to give you permission, and you start taking ownership of your actions. You realize that you are the one in control. You are the one who decides when to take action, when to push through, and when to keep going. And that power is what gives you the ability to create change in your life. But let's talk about the real challenge here. How do you stay consistent when the motivation fades? How do you keep executing when you don't feel like it? Oh, this is where most people fall short. They start strong, full of energy and excitement. But when the initial rush wears off, they fall back into old habits. They give up, thinking that because they don't feel motivated anymore, it must mean they're not cut out for it. But let me tell you, motivation is overrated. Discipline is what gets you through the tough days. Discipline is what helps you stay on track when you don't feel like it. And the good news? Discipline can be developed. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So here's what I want you to think about. Are you willing to take the first step, even when you don't feel like it? Are you willing to put in the work, even when you don't feel inspired? Are you willing to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment? Because the moment you make that commitment, you unlock a level of power within yourself that most people never tap into. You begin to build momentum, and momentum is what drives results. But it's not just about doing the work. It's about doing the work consistently, every single day. No excuses. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to show up. And that's where most people miss the mark. They think that success is about a few big, dramatic actions, about making huge breakthroughs and having these big aha moments. But in reality, success is built on the small, everyday actions that you take. It's about showing up when it's hard. It's about making progress, no matter how small, every single day. Take a moment and think about your own life. Where are you procrastinating? What projects or goals have you put off because they felt too overwhelming, too daunting, or too out of reach? It's easy to get stuck in that place of overwhelm, but the key is to break it down into smaller, manageable steps. Just focus on the next action. Don't worry about the big picture right now. Just take that first step, then take the next, and the next. Before you know it, you'll have gained so much momentum that the larger goal will feel inevitable. But here's the part that I really want you to hear. Execution isn't just about doing. It's about learning as you go. And this is something that the Stoics taught us. They believed that failure wasn't something to be feared. It was something to embrace. In fact, they thought that failure was an essential part of the process. Why? Because every mistake is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. When you execute relentlessly, you will make mistakes. You will fail. And that's okay. It's part of the process. But the key is to keep moving forward. Don't let failure stop you. Don't let it derail you. See it for what it is, an opportunity to learn and to come back stronger. Relentless execution is about building a mindset of progress over perfection. It's about knowing that the only way to achieve your goals is by taking consistent action. It's about letting go of the fear of failure and focusing instead on the power of persistence. Because when you persist, when you take action every day, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels like you're not making any progress, that is when the magic happens. Now, I want to give you something to think about today. Where in your life are you holding back? What goal are you putting off because it seems too big, too overwhelming, or too difficult? I want you to take that goal and break it down into tiny, manageable actions. And then I want you to commit to taking one small step toward that goal today. Just one. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be done. That's where the real power lies. Taking action, no matter how small, every single day. Execution is the difference between dreaming and doing. Today, I want you to make the choice to stop waiting. Stop planning endlessly. Stop wishing. Start doing. And in doing so, you'll unlock the unstoppable force that lies within you. Let's make today count. All right, here we are. Day 6 and 7. You've made it this far. You've transformed your mind, body, and spirit. You've broken down the old version of yourself, built up new habits, and pushed through some serious discomfort. But here's the thing. Transformation doesn't stop just because you've made progress. It doesn't stop after a week or after a breakthrough. No, the real work begins now. Because if you're being honest, you've only just scratched the surface. What you've done so far is nothing short of extraordinary. But now, you need to lock it all in. You need to build systems that will ensure your growth doesn't fade. And you need to solidify the new version of yourself so that this transformation isn't just a temporary high, but a lasting change. So let's dive into that. We've all been there, right? You set a goal, you work hard for a few weeks, and then, bam, you hit a wall. Maybe you get distracted, maybe life happens, or maybe the motivation just isn't there anymore. And before you know it, you've fallen back into old habits. That's the cycle. That's the problem. It's easy to start strong. It's easy to get excited and motivated when the idea of change feels fresh. But what keeps you going once the excitement wears off? What keeps you disciplined when the novelty fades away? The answer: systems. You need a system. And by system, I mean a structure that works for you. A framework that holds you accountable, that helps you stay consistent even when things get hard. Think about it like this. Success doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't happen because you're lucky or because you happen to have a great day. It happens because you've created a routine, a structure, a way of life that doesn't depend on fleeting motivation, but on habits that you can rely on, day in and day out. This is where your transformation can go from being something temporary to something permanent. This is how you create lasting change. Take someone like J.K. Rowling, for example. When she was writing the first Harry Potter book, she wasn't working in some glamorous environment with a team of editors and a publisher who was throwing money at her. She was a single mother living on welfare, writing in coffee shops with no guarantee of success. But what she did have was a system. She showed up every day, even when it was hard. even when she didn't know if anyone would ever read her book. She made writing a habit, and because she did that, she created something that changed her life and the lives of millions of people forever. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. She created her own. And that's what systems do for you. They take the guesswork out of success. They make it inevitable. It's not about hoping that things will work out. It's about creating a process that makes it impossible for things to not work out. Now let's talk about what it means to build a system that will help you not just maintain, but expand the transformation you've worked so hard for. At this point, you've done the hard work, breaking down the old self, developing new habits, and even pushing through some discomfort. But the next step is making sure you don't fall back into old patterns. Systems are the key to that. They're what will turn your transformation from a week-long sprint into a lifetime marathon. When I say system, I'm not talking about some rigid schedule or to-do list that's impossible to stick to. I'm talking about finding a flow that makes your new habits automatic. Think about it. When you wake up in the morning, brushing your teeth is second nature. You don't have to think about it, it's just something you do. You need to create that same automaticity with the habits that will keep your transformation on track. It's about making good habits so deeply ingrained in your life that you don't have to rely on motivation to do them. It's about turning positive actions into defaults. Let's take the gym, for example. If you're trying to build a habit of working out, you're going to need a system that works even on the days you don't feel like it. It's not enough to say, "I'll just go to the gym when I feel motivated." That's a setup for failure. No one feels motivated all the time. Motivation is fleeting. But if you set up a system where the gym becomes just another part of your day, like brushing your teeth, like eating dinner, then it won't matter if you feel motivated or not. It's just something you do, because it's part of your routine. Maybe that system involves scheduling your workouts at the same time every day, preparing your gym bag the night before, or even having a workout buddy to keep you accountable. Whatever it is, the goal is to make it a default, something that's built into your day so that you don't have to think about it. You just do it. The same principle applies to everything else in your life. If you want to keep your mental upgrade, for example, you need a system for feeding your mind every day. This could mean reading a certain number of pages every morning, or journaling at night to reflect on your thoughts and progress. You could build a system of learning, making sure that you're consistently improving your skills, expanding your knowledge, and strengthening your mind. It's not about massive, overwhelming changes. It's about small, consistent actions that build over time. Just like your physical habits, your mental habits need a system to ensure that you keep growing. But here's the thing. Even the best systems need one critical element to work: discipline. And discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you create. It's something you build by showing up for yourself day after day. It's about understanding that the path to greatness is built on consistency. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to make excuses. But once you've built a system, your job is to stick to it. And that's how you solidify your new identity. It's how you make your transformation permanent. Think about a professional athlete. Every day, they follow a strict system of training, diet, and recovery. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They show up every day because they know that their success depends on consistency. That's exactly how you need to approach this journey. Your system should be so solid, so ingrained in your daily life, that you don't even have to think about it anymore. You just show up and you do the work. And with time, the results will compound. But here's where most people slip up. They don't make the system work for them. They try to force themselves into a routine that doesn't fit their life, or they give up too soon because they don't see immediate results. Remember, the journey of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. So you have to be patient. You have to trust that the work you're putting in today will pay off tomorrow. And the more you stick to your system, the more it will become second nature. You'll reach a point where you don't even have to think about your habits anymore. They'll be so ingrained in you that they're just part of who you are. And that's what we're really talking about here. Solidifying your new identity. This isn't about temporary change. This is about creating a new version of yourself that is stronger, more disciplined, and more aligned with your true potential. This is about making your transformation permanent so that you no longer have to try to maintain it. It becomes who you are. So, on day 6 and 7, it's time to look at your life and ask yourself, what systems do I need to put in place to make this transformation permanent? How can I make these habits second nature? And most importantly, how can I be disciplined enough to stick with it, even when things get tough? Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up every day and trusting that with time, the results will speak for themselves. The new you is already inside of you. It's time to make that version of yourself your default. And once you do, there's nothing that can stop you. So, take today to build your systems. Make your habits automatic. Trust the process. And most importantly, commit to making this transformation a permanent part of your life. This is just the beginning, and I can't wait to see where it takes you.